This episode of the Nerf Herder Council is brought to you by Audible. Visit audibletrial.com/NHC for your 30-day trial and a free audiobook download.
Hi, this is Joseph Williams, son of John Williams, and you are watching the Nerf Herder Council.
Why, you stuck-up, half-witted, scruffy-looking Nerf herder!
You can't use that word. Only we can use that word.
You're tuned in to the Nerf Herder Council, your source for Star Wars opinion, conversation, and debate. Featuring your hosts, JT.
Stormtrooper armor deflects everything except Orback hooves. They're like a horse version of Thomas the Tank Engine.
AJ.
Yeah, Rebels is a lot like our show, where we think we have a good idea and then it just fails in execution.
On this episode of the Nerf Herder Council, we're only a few days away from the release of Ahsoka on Disney+. And if you're wondering what our expectations for the show are, well, you came to the right place. This is the Nerf Herder Council. What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Nerf Herder Council. I am your host, JT. We are live on Facebook and YouTube. We are live at those locations every other Wednesday at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are brought to you by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/NHC for your 30-day trial and a free audiobook download. Don't forget, you can go get customizable Nerf Herder Council swag at shop.nerfherdercouncil.com. If you are watching on YouTube, please click that like button, click that subscribe button, and smash that notification bell so that you're notified every time we go live. And if you've already done those things, go tell a bunch of your nerdy friends to do the same thing, because we're shilling for likes and views and all that kind of happy, crappy stuff, because here in 2 weeks, we will be the members of the Virtual Cantina Network. And here to tell you all about that is my amazing co-host and my brother, AJ. How's it going, man? Oh, quick note. Yes. JT's shitty Internet Watch 2023 is still in effect. So if my video goes wonky, the audio will be fine. There, we got the disclaimer out of the way. We need a banner for that. For when my video goes wonky, you could just put the banner across the bottom of the screen. So
that's what the ticker's for.
It's exactly what it's for. So anyhow, all right. So tell our fine viewership all about the great news about our Virtual Cantina Network debut here in a couple weeks.
Well, that's pretty much it. We're going to be on the Virtual Cantina Network in 2 weeks. All right, now tonight's topic.
Nice. Oh,
no,
man.
So yeah, we've partnered up with these buddies of ours that we met back at Star Wars Celebration a few years ago. They run a bunch of different shows on the Virtual Cantina Network page on Facebook, which you can tune into. They have a great watch along called Rebels Revisited on Monday nights. They've got a show called Daughters of the Force that is also, I believe that's Thursdays maybe, or is that the show that's alternating with us on Wednesdays there, JT?
I don't want to misspeak, but I know that it might be the one that's opposite us on Wednesdays. Actually, Jeff, there's this company that says nerds. Like, Jeff is actually one of the moderators over there at the Virtual Cantina Network. Good to see you. And he can clarify, and he did clarify. Yeah. He did clarify, and he says yes. Daughters of the Force, Daughters of the Galaxy, he says, is Wednesday, so they will be on our off weeks. So
perfect.
Yeah.
So, one slight adjustment that we will be making to our timetable is we're not padding 15 minutes into our start time for our late asses anymore. So starting in 2 weeks, we will be live at 8 p.m., not at 8:15 p.m., because that's the schedule that punctual people work on, like those that are already on the Virtual Cantina Network. So
I blame Steve for that start time. That was always I can't do 8, true. I can do 8:15.
That is true. And then we got lazy and we rushed for 8:15 at this point anyway, because we're lazy too.
Right. Oh my god.
Pat it in. Oh my God. Yeah. So, that's going to be that. And, keep it to yourselves. But, the night before we go live, the 8 days before we go live on the Virtual Cantina Network, one or both of us might drop in next Tuesday on a show that's going to be very similar to this one tonight, because there will be an Ahsoka predictions show on the Virtual Cantina Network. So you might be getting a little bit of a sneak preview tonight as to what one or both of us might have to say on that show.
Well,
without
we'll
further
see.
ado, do you want to get into Ahsoka predictions?
Yeah, why don't we just dig into it, man? It's this is going to be interesting. I'm excited for the show because it's new Star Wars, but I have some trepidation about it at the same time. So that's kind of my starting point. Where is yours?
Same. Anytime you're going to base a show off of Rebels, which is neither of our favorite bit of Star Wars animation, it's already on shaky footing before it's even started.
Right.
But it's also part of the Mandoverse, which is one of our favorite things in all Star Wars. So it mixed the good with the bad. And where does it come out? I guess we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I am going to try to not mention those that, in Harry Potter, they have he who will not be named or whatever, he who must not be named. On our show tonight, I'm gonna try and implement a rule, see if I can follow it. This is against me. They that shall not be named. You could probably call them dead horses because I beat it so freaking often. That's what she said. Yeah. So
you're on fire tonight. Why am I even here?
Yeah. Well, yeah. They that shall not be named. I believe I've made my feelings clear on one thing that we are confirmed to have in the new show. So we'll do without that. But yeah, you nailed it right on the head, man. Like the trepidation comes from the fact that we are not Rebels fans. So, and honestly, I'm a little nervous to do that show with the VCN guys here next week, because, I think most of them are, if not all of them. And I'm kind of nervous to come in there right off the bat and be like, hey, thanks for adding us to the network. You guys are all wrong about Rebels. Okay. Onward we go.
So you're saying that an image like this might kind of trigger you a little bit?
That's great for the audio listeners, dude. That's real good. Pulling up pictures on the screen like that.
I know, I'm keeping it mysterious. It gives them a reason to tune in live instead of be lazy and listen for the audio download.
Now that's a good tease. I do like that. The logic is solid there.
This is what you're missing by not tuning in, audio listeners.
Yeah, that triggers me. But they that shall not be named, I am avoiding. So I will. Jeff Caffrey says that there's so many hosts on that show next week. So this is good. So we'll get introduced to several of our fellow podcasters, and we'll see if I can not explode over they that shall not be named with a whole bunch of other people around. That's, Is there a chance that I get us kicked off before we even do one episode?
Oh, I'd say it's at least 50-50. Yeah.
Well, you guys were on the network, but then JT had to open his mouth about they that shall not be named. And see, I can't even say it. Jeff Caffrey, such visuals, so purrgily.
At least you say it right. Dude, I've been listening to Screen Crush on YouTube because they got a lot of videos about Star Wars. I don't know. They're named in the show. And yet, the guy keeps calling him purrgil. If anything's going to trigger me, it's that. Like, get the damn name right.
There's an idea for an episode. Favorite Star Wars mispronunciations. Damn it!
And?
Like, yeah. I think that's canon now. I think that's officially canon. So,
yeah, Han and Leia make a great couple.
Oh, Princess Leia. Like, damn it, that's not it. That would be perfect for like a Mystery Science Theater 3000. Just comment on that. But yeah. So back on topic. Back on target. Yeah. I mean, I'm nervous about how much Rebels is going to be in this. Like, is it just going to be 100%? Hey, remember Rebels? Well, here it is in live action.
Mm-hmm.
Or, Jeff, stop it. He says everything in Star Wars has multiple pronunciations. No, it does not. Certain things are pronounced a certain way. Like Skywalker, Solo, Purrgil, lightsaber. We all know this. Let's not try and sugarcoat things, Jeff. We can call people out.
It's the Falcon. It's not the Falcon.
Oh man. No, I say Millennium Falcon.
Well, you got it wrong then.
Damn it! Now you're making me question like how I'm saying it.
Han calls it the Falcon. It's the Falcon.
Yeah, but the Han and Han thing, between him and Lando, I mean. Well, you know what I always wondered. Speaking of, and then we really got to get back on, stay on target. You know what I just thought would be awesome is that every time that Lando Calrissian calls Han Solo Han, I always thought it'd be great if Han Solo went, "Whatever you say, Lando," like just flip the tables on him,
right?
What are we having for Easter dinner there, buddy? We're having ham. Like, just do that. Pull that move on him. Oh my gosh. Okay, so yeah, I'm wondering if it's just gonna be nothing but 100% just a Rebels fest. I know there's a lot of people who really
it has to be.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, to set up, what is going on. I don't think it will be a total Rebels fest because I mean those. Man, what? Well, let's get into that guess. Who are those Force users with the lightsabers that said we're no Jedi?
Oh boy!
Who? Like what? Who are they? Were they teased in Rebels somehow, and you and I just forgot? Are they going to be dark side users? Are they going to be gray Jedi? Are they introducing that? Like, what do you think?
I think they're entirely new. And it's going to be interesting to see how they actually fold that into the lore, because the way that they're talking in the trailers, they say like, they knew Anakin during the Clone Wars, for example. So they could have shown up in Clone Wars or Rebels, but they just didn't. So It's going to be an interesting bit of, plot logic to figure out like, where were they? Why didn't we see them? It's like the Ahsoka problem all over again, where, Ahsoka's around here after the events of Return of the Jedi and before the events of Revenge of the Sith, and yet she shows up nowhere in the movies. So they had to, do some gymnastics there to make that work out. And I think they're going to have to do more of the same with this.
I keep wondering if it's going to be something like they're like the Padawans that didn't make the cut. The ones that kind of like fell out of favor with the order and they just, refused to train them, or, they didn't get or refused to finish their training, or if they like it didn't train them at all, like when they first meet Anakin and, and they're kind of like, hesitant about him and stuff like that. Like, I wonder if they're going to be kind of like the fallen Padawans or something and they kind of banded together.
Yeah. That's a good question. I mean, it definitely seems to be like a master and apprentice kind of relationship between the two of them, doesn't it? So I would expect that at least, and I'm feverishly trying to not awkwardly Google character names here. Baylan Skoll. Yeah, that's the guy's name. Baylan seems like he was alive during the Clone Wars. Like he probably would have been a knight or a master at that time.
Okay.
Obviously, his apprentice, not quite so much. Again, I can support with visuals here for those of our viewers who are actually watching us right now. This is going to be a very visual heavy show, so anyone listening on audio, you're going to miss half the presentation. But yeah, so we've got the two on screen right now with wielding the orange lightsabers, and the late Ray Stevenson, obviously playing Baylan Skoll there. He seems to be roughly the age of Anakin, I would say. Even his armor is kind of reminiscent of Vader's, if you notice.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering, maybe it was just another Jedi Knight who was off somewhere else in the galaxy during the Clone Wars. So they knew of each other, but they never actually crossed paths on screen. Could be something like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, like you said, he says, he knew Anakin during the Clone Wars. So, I mean, that's, the war was already on, so he knew him somehow. But if he's not a good guy, what's he doing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing is they say they are no Jedi, but clearly they've got Force powers. So it's going to be an interesting question of, all right, so now we've got another sliver in this like spectrum of Force users, right? Because we've got, it used to just be you're either a Jedi or you're a Sith, and that's it. Good guy, bad guy. And then we get the Inquisitors now, where they're followers of the Sith. They're not full-blown Sith lords because there can only be a master and apprentice with the rule of 2. Mm-hmm. So they're dark side users, but they're kind of like junior dark side members. And then these guys, I don't know. Are you familiar with the term gray Jedi? It's kind of a fan term.
I am. I mean, I used it a little earlier in the show, so.
Okay. It's been pretty well spoken by a lot of people who know their Star Wars really well, that's just a completely made up fan term. So I don't think they're going to dive into that idea very much in this show. This idea of like, oh, well, they're still good guys, but they just use the dark side sometimes, which is kind of like the gray Jedi thing.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard Freddie Prinze Jr., the voice of Kanan Jarrus, go off on people who think that gray Jedi is a good idea?
I have.
It's, for those of you who haven't, it is legendary. What's legendary about it is that, one, he hates it, and he explains why everybody who invented Star Wars, like George Lucas and Dave Filoni, it's nowhere in their lexicon. Like they don't ascribe to that at all in their version of Star Wars, which is, the version of Star Wars.
Yeah.
So basically it's a guy who was in Star Wars telling everybody who thinks that that's a thing, calling him stupid. It's like, he's so blunt about it. Drops a lot of F-bombs too, which is great to hear.
Yeah.
I think that would have made Rebels a better show, don't you?
F-bombs in Star Wars? Jeff Caffrey, Dark Side Jr. Yeah. Maybe so, man. Man, F-bombs in Rebels. Yeah. Because I know, well, okay. Full disclosure, when I was watching Rebels, there were a lot of F-bombs. So there already were F-bombs in Rebels.
I could imagine so. Wow.
Yeah, as long as, especially that the Obi-Wan Maul fight. That was the preeminent F-bomb. So not pleased with that.
Yeah, no. Now I've got another picture of Balin's skull up on the screen here for all of our audio listeners. Again, that's going to be my running joke throughout the whole episode, so get used to it.
They that shall not be named,
right?
And nothing but references to things on the screen people can't see. Jeff Caffrey, F-bombs make everything better. Fuck yeah, they do.
Oh boy, I'm going to have to mark this as not safe for kids on the YouTube playback. Thank you.
Yeah, aren't all of our episodes?
Yes, actually.
Even if we don't swear, they're not safe for kids. Like, don't grow up to be like these idiots.
Right, exactly. This is what happens when a lifetime of Star Wars influences you.
Exactly. All right, so
we've got, not only, like I said, I'm demonstrating the armor where it's the fact that it is armor and he's got like shoulder pauldrons that look kind of like Vader's and stuff, but he's also got this orange lightsaber. What do you think the story is with those?
So that's why I mentioned Gray Jedi. I know it's not going to be the thing, but I wonder if it's like a similar concept, because the very first thing, my very first reaction to an orange lightsaber was, number one, they're not the first in Star Wars to have an orange lightsaber. Little known fact.
Can you explain that one?
Yeah, I am. We got our picture taken at Celebration 2010 in Orlando, and you photoshopped me in with an orange lightsaber. So F you, Dave Filoni, you owe me some residuals. But yeah, so
we did it first.
Yeah, dude, the Nerf Herder Council blazing trails, as we always have since 2015.
That's why they won't let us at Celebration. I forgot about that. See, they had this show was in pre-production for a while, obviously. So clearly they just didn't want us coming around hitting them up for that sweet, sweet IP money, right?
All $13.84 were owed. But yeah, no, my first reaction to the orange lightsaber was, okay, it's not evil, but it's not good. Like it looks ominous. You know, you see a yellow lightsaber with Rey, you're like, okay. You see, like, you know, Ahsoka had a white saber, all right, and then you got the bright colors, you know, blue, green, purple. You know what red is, but orange is kind of like in between. You're like, all right, what does this represent? That was my, yeah. Jeff said it. Yeah, Jeff said it. Just this side of Sith. Yeah, I wondered about that, Jeff. That's exactly kind of how I felt. Like, okay, where do they fall in terms of, you know, light side, dark side? Because we know, you know, the crystals kind of, you know, they derive their color from the Force, you know, emitting from the user, correct? Is that a good way to phrase it? That's why you have, like, the Sith always have the red ones and stuff like that. And so
yeah, they're supposed to reflect the spirit of the user, so to speak.
Yeah. So
the modern canon says, like, for example, the red lightsabers, no kyber crystal is red by default. It's a Sith process where they have to pour their anger and their hatred into the crystal, and it, quote, bleeds the crystal, and that's how it turns red. So yeah, that's why people are like, what, did they, like, only kind of dislike things instead of hate them outright? Is that how you get orange?
That's what I was just gonna say.
They're mildly annoyed.
Yeah, I wildly dislike this. Do you hate it? Not really, but I mean, it really pisses me off. See, that'd be great if they were running around doing that in the show. Like, they show the Emperor, let go of your anger. Well, but I'm not really per se, I would say, like, angry with him, you know? Like, I don't know, Emperor. Like, he's just kind of a dick.
Like, do you hate them? No, but I don't like them.
Yeah, that's the whole crux of the character.
They're not on my life day card list, that's for sure.
Life day card list. Nice. Oh my god. All right, so AJ with more pictures on the screen that the audio.
Caffrey coming through again. Highly annoyed Force users.
Exactly. Hafu. That's it. We figured it out. We've got Jedi, we've got Sith, we've got Hafu. Highly annoyed Force users. We need to start writing this stuff down.
Right. New shirt on shop.nerfherdercouncil.com. Hafu.
Hafu. Yes. It sounds like Star Wars-ish. So was it the last show or the show before we came up with the Rogue One effect? And now we've got Hafu.
Since we've got someone from Virtual Cantina Network here in the chat with us, whoever our producer is going to be, they're the ones that need to be writing this stuff down because we never remember this crap.
Wait, we have a producer?
This is gold.
I didn't know we had I didn't know we had a new Showtime. I didn't know we had I don't know any of this crap.
Hey, you dangled the producer thing in front of me. I got really excited over someone else having to run this crap.
Right. Jeff said, he says, now it's canon. Yes. See? Orange lightsaber is canon because of us, and Hafu is now canon because of us. Oh, that's fantastic. All right. So up here we've got
give in to your perturbance.
Perturbance. Oh my god.
So here's another thing that supports the theory that these guys are not the good guys. You've got Baylan Skoll taking on a bunch of New Republic troops in probably a ship. Looks a lot like the prison ship from The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Good guys don't tend to fight the New Republic, so I'm going to guess that these guys aren't on their side.
Well, but see, here's the thing, though. I mean, how many times have we said on the show that the trailers and the things that we are given for these shows are often really misleading?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I was going to ask you about that. So, I have one tinfoil hat theory about these guys. They're so obviously being positioned as the bad guys. Do you think that's the red, or in this case, the orange herring? Are
the Hafu the orange herring of Ahsoka? Yeah, I mean, I really think it could be. It's like I say, I just don't trust it. It looks obviously like they're going to be the bad guys, but that's too obvious, it seems.
Yeah, and it would seem almost like we've got like 3 factions going on here anyway. Because you've got Thrawn and Elsbeth, his disciple or whatever. So you got Morgan Elsbeth.
What's the name? Morgan Elsbeth. They just took like an eye out of Elizabeth?
Basically, yeah.
Oh, come on.
That was in The Mandalorian, dude.
How do I not remember that?
I don't know, but that was in Ahsoka's episode in The Mandalorian.
Oh, I was paying attention to Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, in Ahsoka's debut episode, she was High Magistrate Morgan Elsbeth. I got a picture of her. You want to see it?
Sure. So
I'm having fun with the Star Wars media site. Anyway,
our good buddy Kale McLeish, good to see you, man. He says he woke up a little bit late. He said, "What's a hafu?" Well, Kale, that's what you missed. AJ and I officially made orange lightsabers canon back in 2010. Little known fact. And a hafu is basically what other people call a gray Jedi. Jeff Caffrey came up with it, and we coined it. It's a highly annoyed Force user. So that's what these guys with the orange lightsabers are. So you've got Sith, you've got Jedi, and you've got hafu. We're blazing trails here on the Nerf Herder Council and the Nerf Herder Council, as I said earlier. So you're all caught up, Kale. We're basically positing what's going to happen on Ahsoka. And we've already had some really terrible ideas.
That's
the
us.
Nerf Herder Council. Another show note. We have a new show time and a new show title. We are now the Nerf Herder Council. That's really hard to say.
This woman.
Oh, her. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I always thought she looked really cool anyway. And see, so here's another thing. This image for all of you audio listeners out there, you've got Baylan Skull and his apprentice, or maybe his daughter, who knows? Maybe his mistress. We don't know. Maybe they're a throuple. Hey. But anyway, they're sharing space on the screen and they don't seem to be fighting each other. So at some point, these hafu get in the same shot with Morgan Elsbeth and they don't seem to dislike each other that much.
Hafu.
This is a really smart show. I can't believe it took this long for a podcast network to pick us up. I mean, this is a sort of insight that you really, you can't get this anywhere else.
It's like, this is like one of our dumbest episodes ever. Like every time we bring up something intelligent, it's immediately followed up with something ridiculously stupid. It's like, oh my gosh, man.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah. What do you think her involvement is with Thrawn and all of this, by the way? Morgan Elsbeth, that is.
I don't know. And she's not already canon, right? This is not someone who showed up in the new Thrawn trilogy.
Not that I know of. I think she was invented for that episode of The Mandalorian where Ahsoka showed up.
Okay. Ooh, Jeff Caffrey is going to an IMAX preview screening of Blue Beetle. Awesome, man. That's very cool. That movie actually looks pretty cool. And we're not DC guys, but
wow,
have a good time, man. That actually looks kind of cool. I have to admit that one looks kind of cool for me.
Okay.
Yeah,
we might have to check that one out then. That might be a show for us.
I don't know, because there's so much they could do with this, because obviously Thrawn's been out in the unknown, whatever. What is it? Are they going to call it wild space? Wherever the hell he went.
I believe he went. See, these are two different things, actually. Wild space is different from the unknown regions.
Well,
and
I know that
he went to the unknown regions.
Well, wherever they that shall not be named took him. Yeah. I mean, we don't know like what the heck is out there, so it's a completely blank canvas. So I'm having a hard time kind of figuring out where that would be or what would happen, especially because another thing is like where, Ezra is going to play a part in all of this.
True.
So, I mean, he could be a big part of this as well. And we just haven't seen how yet. So it's...
Yeah, so make a prediction about that, because we've got a bunch of Rebels characters here. We know that we've got basically the recreation of the epilogue scene of Rebels here in the show, where Ahsoka approaches Sabine and basically says, like, hey, let's go find Ezra. How much of this show do you think is going to be the search for Ezra versus them fighting off Thrawn and Morgan Elsbeth and Baylan Skull and Apprentice, whose name I still have not found yet?
Tyler Burkhart. Hot take. When they find Thrawn, him and Ezra will be buddies. Nice.
Shin Hati, by the way, is that's real close to Hafu, so we're on the right track.
We are.
So Shin Hafu.
Hafu. I just love that. It's so stupid, but it's so good. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I see. I could see all of that coming into play in the story. I think this is almost definitely going to be a lot of, hey, where's Ezra? Because number one, that's the story everybody wants told. So I think just from a fan service standpoint alone, I think you're going to get that. I mean, we did see the hologram message from Ezra in the trailer, so we already got that. But yeah, and then it's, you know, I mean, first of all, I think the Thrawn thing might be like a monkey wrench into the whole plan. Like, I'm wondering if, you know, Hera and Ahsoka and Sabine and all that, if they're going looking for Ezra, but the Hafu are looking for Ezra too. So maybe they're like, okay, who's going to get to him first? You know, who is he? Is he going to become a Hafu, or is he going to become a Jedi? Fucking Hafu. I just can't stop laughing at that. It's so damn dumb. But yeah, it's like, I think that might be a thing. But then, you know, obviously the whole Thrawn thing throws a monkey wrench in the works. You know, he comes back somehow, and somehow Thrawn returned. Ah, God damn it, we're doing that again.
Oh, come on!
There it is. Yes. So yeah, I that's kind of how I perceive this to go. It's the search for Ezra, and then Thrawn comes back, and all hell breaks loose, and kind of gets in the way. So
okay, I could see that.
You know, and which then begs the question, like, if they find Ezra, is this then going to become more of like the Ezra show?
And that kind of is the question, right? Like, we had this question when Rebels came out too. Like, everyone was wondering, they wanted to see, they popped every time a Clone Wars character would come in. Like when Rex showed up and when Ahsoka showed up. And Dave Filoni has been on record saying that, like, he had to be very careful in crafting that show, Rebels, because he didn't want to bring in, quote, legacy characters until he had established the main cast of the new show of Rebels, because he didn't want them to be overshadowed. Now, this is called Ahsoka. So you would assume that even though the main plot point here is, you know, the search for Ezra, Ezra can't be the main focus, because otherwise what you have is Rebels 2.0, and Ahsoka's not the main character anymore.
Yeah.
So I wonder how they're going to balance that out to be like, okay, well, we've got all these Rebels characters in here. We've already seen Zeb in The Mandalorian. We've already gotten, in the trailer, we've gotten Hera and Sabine and Chopper. So how are they going to balance this out to make sure that it's Ahsoka's story, even though it's really Sabine who's the one who wants to go after Ezra, because they kind of have that brother-sister, basically she friend-zoned him kind of relationship.
Friend-zoned, nice. Yeah, I mean, that's... See, I keep trying to think of how this is tying into, like, the greater timeline. So that's what keeps coming to my mind, is like, okay, like, I'm trying to think of this, you know, as you're doing in, like, the context of one show, but then I'm thinking, okay, well, but where is this all going to go? And I keep coming back to thinking about, you know, one of the main things that has been something that has been hinted at in multiple shows and in the movies, since Disney took over, was the resurrection of the Jedi Order, right? And everyone's wondering about it with Rey. I mean, Ahsoka was Anakin's, Padawan. So I keep wondering if the whole crux of this Ahsoka thing is to set up that, and it's just a part of the bigger story of, does she eventually somehow run into Rey, and it's like Rey and Ahsoka that kind of resurrect the Jedi under that Skywalker banner type of a thing. So that's where I would see Ahsoka's kind of main involvement in this is her continued learning and growth as a Jedi. But then I think they do have to definitely focus. Why'd you take Sabine off the screen? But they do have to focus on other stories besides that if you're going to bring Thrawn in and Sabine and all that. So,
well, yeah, it gets to be tricky to juggle these characters, right? Because people really want to see these Rebels characters in live action. We've got an image up right now, probably from the very same scene, actually, because we just had the picture of the live action recreation of the epilogue scene from Rebels, where Sabine's looking at the mural she painted of their, family, and Ahsoka shows up and basically says, "Hey, it's time to go, look for this guy." So here we've got Ahsoka in gray robes, by the way, so they're kind of retconning that a little bit. Yeah, since she was in white robes at the end of Rebels. But I if it hasn't been officially confirmed, it's all but confirmed that the shots from the trailer that we're seeing that look like the epilogue of Rebels, it is the same scene. It's not, a different time that just happens to look very similar. So the fact that she's wearing gray in this instead of white is just a choice. So they go off.
That's weird to me.
What I'm wondering is this. Why now? Because clearly, there was a time skip from the end of Rebels to the epilogue scene. And, then Ahsoka comes back and says, let's go find Ezra. So what happens at that moment in the Star Wars timeline that Ahsoka says, now is the time that we need to go find Ezra? Because there was the entire galactic civil war that took place between the end of Rebels and this scene that we're showing on the screen right now for our audio listeners.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a damn good question. Because, if this is so this is after the Galactic Civil War? So this is after, Palpatine was killed? I mean, this is going to be overly simplistic, but maybe it's just, they were focusing on that fight. Now that fight is over, now that fight is over, now let's go hunt and let's do our personal quest for Ezra. Discuss Metal Joe. I predict Sabine, and you will like it. Man, what is with you and Sabine? She's not that great, Joe.
They share a last name. That's it.
Well, I know that, but
he's sticking up for his cousin or something. I don't know.
His cousin Sabine. Joe's cousin Sabine.
Joe's cousin Mary Sue. Sabine, sorry.
Yeah, what other added skills is Sabine going to have in this show? Yeah.
Yeah, can we segue into Sabine here then? Can we talk about her for a minute?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, so it's pretty evident from the trailers and everything that she is now training not with the darksaber like she did in Rebels, but she is now training with a lightsaber. And there's references to Master and Apprentice between her and Ahsoka. So how do you feel about her adding, Jedi to her resume after she's already been a bounty hunter and an artist and a rebel and an Imperial weapons engineer and leader of the Mandalorians? And I probably forgot something else. Maybe she worked at Starbucks at some point.
Barista. Sabine Wren, the barista. I don't like it much. Especially if it is like, hey, you know, she has the Force or something, then I'll be like righteously pissed. If it's just kind of like a Finn thing where he can actually fight with the lightsaber, okay. And I'm thinking that's what it is because, you know, when she was fighting with the darksaber, you know, the darksaber's a Mandalorian thing, so she's got experience with that sort of weapon. So, Gail McLeish, instead of Starbucks, he says, "You mean star credits?" Well played. Joe, he says, you're behind on Rebels if you think the saber is out of place. We're not behind on Rebels. We watched every episode of that crappy show. It's not that it's out of place. It's that I don't want her becoming a freaking Jedi. As AJ said, she already does everything else. It would be stupid. I mean, it's basically what doesn't she do at that point? You'd have a shorter list of things that she doesn't do, and that just gets agitating. So I would not like it. But again, if it's just, you know, saber combat skills, okay, you know, I could see that. But right there, she's got a green saber, so obviously it's, you know, her own lightsaber.
Mm-hmm. And
so.
And in typical Star Wars fashion, they like to pair up like the master fighting the master and the apprentice fighting the apprentice. Yeah. So the fact that she's squaring off against Shin Hafu,
Shin Hafu.
I'm pretty sure that means that, yeah, Ahsoka has more important things to do. She's probably squaring off against Baylan Skoll at the same time, I would guess.
Could be.
But yeah, so me personally, this whole idea of Sabine now being a Jedi apprentice, I'm not for it because I think that character, and Joe, this is where I come from, because I don't want her to be a Jedi apprentice for the reason that she's interesting enough and has enough going on that she doesn't need to also be a Jedi.
Agreed.
Like it's not helping the depth of her character. She's already got plenty.
Well, and I think for me, dude, to that point, it's like I've been on record many times on the show saying that my favorite part of Star Wars is, you know, outside of obviously Han Solo and the Millennium Falcon, is the whole Force and lightsabers thing in the Jedi. Like, I just think that's really cool. You know, I really love the prequels for that reason. There's a bunch of Jedi running around. I love that time period. And the thing that I don't like is how they haven't really done this, but it seems like fans are pushing for it. A certain segment of the fan base to, you know, oh, well, this person's got to be Force sensitive and this person's got to be Force sensitive and that person's got to be Force. It's like, no, really, they don't. So if they start taking characters that are already established and go, oh, by the way, also now they're a Force user, I'm like, just can we stop that? It takes away the luster from actually being a Jedi. You know, if they don't start out that way, like the whole thing where people are trying to say that Finn is, you know, Force sensitive and all this crap, you know, because he used a lightsaber. It's like, no, you know what? He can just be Finn, the freaking stormtrooper that took out the garbage and became a Resistance hero. He doesn't have to be a Padawan. He doesn't have to be, you know, Chirrut Imwe or something like that. You know, at least with Chirrut, he was a guardian of the Wills, and they don't say he was a Jedi. No, he was just very in tune with the Force. Doesn't mean he can use the Force. So if they start doing that, you know, if they start doing that with Sabine and other people, it's just not cool.
Yeah. And plus, one of our favorite movies is Rogue One. And one of the coolest things about that movie is the idea that you don't have to be a Force user to be a powerful force in the universe.
Yeah.
Normal, ordinary people without special powers can also make a huge difference. Yeah. So what's her being able to wield a lightsaber or, you know, force push someone going to do that wasn't already as cool as watching her take down Fen Rao for leadership of Mandalore back in Rebels?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. Joseph Rand says, you're not wrong, AJ. I think part of her character is dismissing the things other people find quote unquote cool or quote unquote sacred. She learned to saber so she could say, what's the big deal with this? Big deal. Yeah. I mean, she's kind of like the hipster kid, you know, the artist and all that kind of stuff. And so to just make her, oh, well, all of a sudden now you're a Jedi. It's
yeah. Do you remember that episode, by the way, JT? The one where she was trained in how to wield the Darksaber by Kanan?
I do.
I just rewatched that one recently. That is one of the high points of the show, I think.
No, it was good. I mean, where is it at? See, some of the stuff in Rebels is cool. I mean, as much as we joke around about hating that show, it's like we don't hate it. It's just, we've said so many times, AJ, that show is half good episodes and half crap.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Kale said it earlier, and I'll bring it up here. He said, honestly, though, you should probably just hope that they kind of gloss over some of the Rebels content. Yeah, that's exactly right. You don't want every episode of this show to just be like a previously on. Yeah.
It needs to be its own thing for sure.
Well, those damn Force Wolves I thought were stupid. I would like to do away with that. What was that the Bendu? I thought that was dumb. They that shall not be named. I don't even need to go there. There's just a lot of stuff in here in that show. I was like, but some of it was really good. Like you said, that her training with the Darksaber with Kanan, that was cool. So, that's fine. And I thought it was great too. I agree with you. That was a high point of the show for me as well. So I hope that maybe they'll reference that. I mean, and by the way, that's one thing we haven't even touched on is, are we going to see some Kanan? Are we going to get some Kanan Jarrus? I don't see how we can't.
That's a good question.
He's the only one we haven't seen in live action.
Yeah, and there's no reason he couldn't. Well, so being a Force ghost has always been reserved as this like uber Jedi skill. Like it's one of the last things you learn. Yeah. And that's why we've only seen like the biggest of the big Jedi be Force ghosts, minus Mace Windu. But that's because he's not dead.
Thank you.
But yeah, so we could see Kanan, but I would also fully believe like he never learned that skill. Was he powerful enough? Maybe, but he never had the training in it. He didn't really know it existed, probably.
Okay, but isn't it's not something you really learn though, is it?
Well, Qui-Gon was the first one to figure it out. That was at the end of Revenge of the Sith is when Yoda was like, "Hey, by the way, Obi-Wan, you could talk to Qui-Gon now."
Well, and but that's the thing. To me, I thought it was like the skill that you get is learning how to commune with Jedi who have transformed into the Force. It's not being able to like make yourself appear. I mean, Qui-Gon even said it at the end of Obi-Wan. He said you weren't ready to see. So it's not, something that they have to learn. It's like, I think they just get over there and the other Force ghosts are like, "Hey, dude, check this out. You can go haunt these motherfuckers." I think it's like that. Kale McLeish says, Freddie said no, in regards to Kanan. Yeah, but here's the thing about that, Kale. Freddie Prinze Jr. may be Kanan Jarrus, but guess what? Ashley Eckstein was Ahsoka. So, and she's not anywhere near this show. So Freddie Prinze Jr. might be saying no, but the actor that plays Kanan Jarrus' Force Ghost in this will definitely tell you yes. So I just don't see how, like, if you're going to have, again, you've seen everybody else. I mean, granted, Zeb was on a different show, but you saw Zeb. You've got Ezra in a hologram message, and then we already know we got Chopper and Hera and Sabine and whatnot. So, I mean, you've got everybody else. So why wouldn't you have? Especially consider, Ahsoka, she and Kanan crossed paths in Rebels, so they're aware of each other. So who knows, maybe that's a thing there.
Could be. Kale McLeish chimes in with, so part of Luke's 12 minutes of training was learning how to commune with Force ghosts. Well, at least at that point, he did see, Ben, Obi-Wan as a Force ghost. So he knew that was a possibility. It was in season 6 of the Clone Wars where Yoda first learned that was even possible by going to Dagobah, and he spoke with the disembodied voice of Qui-Gon. Mm-hmm. So even Yoda didn't know that it was possible to retain your individuality once you transform into the Force after death. That was news to him just, during the Clone Wars itself. So and they kind of made it out like it was an old force power that had been lost to the sands of time, basically. Like it was something that people used to do, and then it was forgotten somehow.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we don't know how that whole thing works, and they can write any mechanism they want. Maybe it's, like the Obi-Wan explanation where Obi-Wan wasn't ready to see Qui-Gon, and that's why Qui-Gon couldn't show up. Or maybe it's the fact that, it's a two-way street. Someone's got to be receptive, and the Force ghost they're trying to talk to needs to know how to be a Force ghost.
Yeah. And I think the Luke and Obi-Wan thing is a little different because it's, Luke is.
They had a very special bond because they were together in life.
Yeah. Well, and also Luke is, the quote unquote the last hope. So, Obi-Wan's not going to, let's just wait until he's ready. They're going to, no, man, show yourself, asshole. We got to kill Darth Vader.
Right.
Like, they're not just going to drag their heels. It's like, no, man, like, let's show ourselves to this guy. So I think that one was a little different. I don't think that was a case of he needs to be ready. I think it's Ben going, hey, dude, like, he even said it, in episode 4, strike me down and I'll become more powerful than you can ever imagine. He's more powerful as becoming one with the Force than he would be in physical form. So he's continuing Luke's training. He's sending him to Dagobah, things like that, So I think that's a different thing.
He was probably straight up pissed at Qui-Gon. He's like, man, I've been trying to talk to you for 12 friggin' years and you just now show up after I get my ass handed to me a bunch? Come on now.
Right. You're a real dick, Qui-Gon.
You could have really helped before I got thrown in the fire on Kijimi. Just saying.
Nice.
So when you were asking about seeing Kanan or not, I thought you were going somewhere else with it because I haven't ruled out the possibility of flashbacks in this show. Speaking of how to cover like Rebels content for backstory. And the reason I thought you might be going there with it is the image that I'm bringing up right now for our audio listeners. What we've got here on screen is an Inquisitor with the old, spinning lightsaber deal.
Yeah.
And you'd assume that by the time present day, air quotes, comes around for the Ahsoka show, there are no more Inquisitors. You'd think that those all go away with the Empire and, Vader and the Emperor. So is this a flashback scene that we're seeing?
That's a really good question. Wow. And dude, I'll be honest with you. A flashback never even occurred to me in this show. Wow. The only other thing that would make sense is if maybe the Inquisitors are still around. Maybe it's just some rogue band of, they're going to keep the mission alive of killing any Jedi they find. Otherwise, dude, that's really, I'm going to go with the flashback thing. I think that makes the most sense. Good call. Good call, okay. My young Padawan.
Well, putting my tinfoil hat on again, I have another idea, though.
Okay.
There was another Screen Crush video. I watch a lot of that. Sorry. Where he made a very compelling argument by way of the comic books of saying that this show might connect to the sequel trilogy and the Knights of Ren. And I'm wondering if maybe maybe this picture of the Inquisitor, maybe this is where Baylan Skoll and Shin Hafu come from, where maybe they're former Inquisitors who were, cultists of a sort. So they took off the Inquisitor garb, but they didn't really turn back. So that's how they end up being like orange lightsaber wielders. Maybe the Knights of Ren are former Inquisitors.
Wow. That is one hell of a theory.
Because everything that they've done in like the Mandoverse is all talking about like the early days post Return of the Jedi and the steps towards the formation of the First Order, right? We've already got, the cloning stuff going on with Mandalorian and Moff Gideon and whatnot. So maybe this is another piece of that puzzle that shows how other factions and pieces of the sequel trilogy, got their start.
Yeah, that's possible.
Because we know that all of this is culminating towards some movie that is going to tie together all of these Mandoverse era shows, right? So,
yeah.
What else? I can't imagine them doing that and having it not be something of connective tissue between the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy,
Well, I mean, the whole can't have light without dark theory. I mean, if, as we talked about earlier, if they're trying to, sorry, I had to mute my mic there. I had a huge burp. I'll swear on this show, but
yeah, we're too classy for that.
But yeah, I think, if they're going to go with a storyline eventually about the resurrection of the Jedi Order, I think it would also make perfect sense that they kind of resurrect the dark side as well. And like you said, maybe this is part of a bigger puzzle, and this is kind of setting that up. The counterpoint to the resurrection of the Jedi Order.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this goes. And we haven't even gotten around to Thrawn yet. So obviously he's pictured in the trailer, so we know we are going to see him. It's not going to be like Luke in The Force Awakens, where right before the credits roll, "Hey, I'm Thrawn. Nice to meet you. Hi."
Yeah.
So if they're trying to hunt him down, do you think he's still stuck somewhere, or do you think he's hiding somewhere, building his forces?
I think he's in. Okay, I'm going to be, since this is our prediction show. Mm-hmm. By the way, Discuss Metal Joe says, "I'm digging this idea, AJ. Take it all the way to The Force Awakens, where Kylo decides to drop the W, Ren, very well played, and make it his own." Yeah, so since this is a prediction show, kind of, as usual, we get off the rails. I think Thrawn's in the first episode. Because
right off the rip, huh?
You know what, man? Haven't we seen that? We talked about this before. They always, in these damn trailers, they show us things, you get all excited, and you get they're all within like the first 6 minutes of the damn show.
That's true. Yeah.
So
yeah, especially a Dave Filoni trailer, you're only getting episode 1, maybe the second, and that is it.
Well, I mean, remember the Obi-Wan trailers? It was, there was no Vader in it until like the third or fourth trailer. Mm-hmm. Thrawn was pretty much like, as soon as, here's the official trailer, there's Thrawn. So that just to me kind of told me that, man, I really don't like that actor for Thrawn. AJ's got another picture on the screen for all of our audio listeners. I mean, he's fine. I would have chosen somebody else, but
well, there's an interesting question then. There's an interesting question right there. Finish your thought.
Okay. So Tyler Burkhart says, "I really hope Thrawn is in the first episode. It was so teased in Mando. I can't wait any longer." Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kale says it too. He makes another good point. Kale says, referencing Kenobi, he was like, "There was also no Leia." Yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, I really
it's pronounced Leia.
I forgot we went over that. Yeah. What am I thinking? Excuse me. Yeah, I just think Thrawn's going to show up pretty quickly. Otherwise, why would they show him predominantly? I mean, the whole damn universe is waiting for it. And if he doesn't, then they're flipping their own trailer crap on its ear, and actually not. They're not having what's in the trailer showing immediately in the show. They are showing things in the trailer that happen a lot later in the timeline of the episodes. But
it is interesting that the whole thing of like, let's go look for Thrawn, and then they show Thrawn in the trailer. So clearly, whether or not they find him is not one of the crucial plot points of the series. That part is a given, and now it's a question of, now that you found him, what happens?
Well, maybe Thrawn found Ezra.
Ooh.
So maybe the
found him to be a dick. Purrgled him off to unknown space. I mean, come on.
Right? They that shall not be named. Yeah, maybe the search for Ezra and Thrawn are one and the same. Maybe Ezra is with Thrawn and they got to go rescue him. So maybe that's the whole thing.
Well, that's one of those lines that we were talking about on our previous show when we were doing the trailer breakdown. because there was that line in The Mandalorian in Ahsoka's episode, part 6 of season 2, where she said, to Morgan Elsbeth, "Where is Grand Admiral Thrawn?" And it's funny because, in the epilogue scene of Rebels, she says, "Let's go find Ezra." So either they're not together anymore and Ahsoka knows that, or there's a reason that they're differentiating the two,
Yeah.
Now we talked about the issue of recasting these roles from the voice actors, right? And you had mentioned how you don't like the look of Thrawn. Now, you know why they cast this guy as Thrawn, right?
He's the actual voice actor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So given your choice between having an actor who might not visually look like the character as you would hope he would, but be the right voice, or vice versa, like a Rosario Dawson kind of situation, which would you prefer?
Oh my gosh. That's a difficult one. Wow. I would almost say that the Thrawn way is better, only because at least he looks close enough, and then the voice can kind of make it more believable. It's like, okay, that's the voice I remember. So then your brain kind of morphs what's on screen into what you expect. Whereas, the Rosario Dawson thing, it sounds different. You're like, wait a minute, that's not Ashley Eckstein. Okay, now that's really not Ashley Eckstein. Like, okay. I would say the Thrawn thing.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you on that. Because I've been going through these promotional images for our audio listeners out there, and we've got this whole weird sort of like, they don't have a hard and fast rule on this, do they? In some cases they're like, okay, we'll just recast for whatever we think the live action person should look like, whether they have the voice or not. I've got Hera up on the screen here as an example, who is neither the original actor nor does she quite pull off what I would think a live action version of the character would look like.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate because you get characters like Cad Bane in The Mandalorian where it was a dude in a mask anyway, so they can make him look as cartoon accurate as they want and still get the voice. And then you get stuff like Hera here, who looks like they tried to do a Twi'lek, but she hung out on Arrakis too long and did a bunch of spice.
Wow.
Yeah, for those who don't get the reference, that means her eyes are too blue.
Yeah, that's one of the nerdiest things we've ever said on our show.
Right. But yeah, I was looking at what's wrong with her eyes? I'm like, oh, that's right. She had blue eyes in the cartoon. So they gave her like ultra blue eyes as contact lenses for the live action version. And I'm like, you don't need to do that.
No one knows what it's like to be a Batman. To be a Twi'lek.
Oh my God. That's going to be going through my head every time she's on the damn screen now.
Look at this. My stepson's busting balls. He says, mostly an audio only audience. See, Dom, you think you're being funny, but that's the whole crux of the joke. So there you go. Got to understand, we're not as dumb as we look.
I mean, yeah, exactly. If I had to look at us, I'd be audio only too.
Yeah, got a face for radio. By the way, can we just say that I know this is really nitpicking, but I've always thought when I saw Hera on the screen in the trailer, and like especially in this still shot, it just looks like a pack of lozenges on her coat. Like,
oh, it does. Yeah, she's got clarets.
Yeah, like chloroseptic tabs or something. Like, I got a sore throat here. Like, what the heck? But
yeah, she goes really down in rank every time someone gets strep.
Oh my God. What's that on your shirt? The Purina logo? No, it's a patch. Oh, I like it. Oh, thanks. I'm just kidding. It's lame. Oh, I'm not going to miss you. But yeah, I'm with you. The Hera thing is a little a little off-putting. You know what I think it is though, and here's what I think is my problem with the Hera they cast. The woman that they got to play her in this screenshot that you brought up solely for the benefit of our audio viewers. Yes, I called them audio viewers on purpose. When I picture Hera in Rebels, her face had kind of a gritty, like determined kind of, is it like wizened or wizened? What is it?
Wizened.
Wizened. I've heard it pronounced so many ways and it confused me. But it had that kind of look, that war weary kind of look. The Hera actress in Ahsoka looks almost like too innocent for me. You know what I mean? Like looks younger, looks too innocent.
Young for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Tyler Burkhart. I feel superior that I'm seeing these pictures. Nice. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not a deal breaker by any means. I'm just kind of surprised with this show that, like, in a way, some of the look of it isn't quite as much as, quite as good as we would think. Yeah, see, doesn't that look a little more like it looks a little older? I think it just looks a little more. I hate to say intelligent, but she looks more like a leader in the cartoon. The looks on her face. Whereas the one in the show kind of looks like she'd be a follower.
I also didn't realize she has green eyes in the cartoon, not blue. Those are like emerald green.
That's what it looks like to me. Unless it's
stupid Star Wars can't even get their own canon right.
Never mind. This show's gonna suck. They can't get the eyes right. The actress for Hera's all wrong. Freaking, Thrawn just looks like a science teacher painted blue with red contacts. They that shall not be named are in the show. It's all crap. That's my prediction. It's going to suck. F this show. Let's move on to Mando season 4, Bad Batch season 3, and then season 2 of Andor.
Right. Our Ahsoka prediction, it's a wet fart. There's your soundbite, Virtual Cantina Network.
You're going to get us kicked off before me.
Right. Now, here's a side-by-side for our audio viewers out there. We've got the live-action version and the cartoon version up on the screen at the same time here.
That's so good. Okay, see, this looks better. This looks better. This one I could get. And it's unfortunate because I think Hera is one of those characters it's almost impossible to nail 100% in live action, because in the cartoon version, they did give her such a pointed chin. You're never going to be able to do that unless you just CG the crap out of, whoever the live action actress is. Mm-hmm. But here's another thing. I mean, I don't know during what season of Rebels the cartoon version on the screen is, but look at the difference in the headpiece. It's white with brown trim in the cartoon, and then in Ahsoka it's strictly all brown with basically she's wearing like a bomber jacket or something.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
and that's I swear at some point she switches over to the bomber jacket in the show, in the cartoon, because
I feel like
looks
you're right
familiar. Yeah, but I don't see any tattoos on her. What do they call the head tails on the Twi'lek? Whatever those are called.
I disagree. If you look, it's very, very faint, and our audio listeners will be able to see this right away. You could see a little dot, like it's just to the left of her face. Mm-hmm. Like you can kind of see it if you look at it in the live action picture. It's just really difficult to, and when you look at the cartoon, it's exactly in the same place where the one in the cartoon is. So it's there. I think it's just really faint.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's the other problem they have with this is we've said that, like, she of all the Rebels characters looks the most like a cosplayer, like someone you just walk up to at Celebration and be like, "Cool costume, good job."
Yeah.
I don't know how else you could do it though, because the character by design, I mean, the alien species was invented for Jabba's palace, right? It was Ula, the dancer who got eaten by the Rancor.
Yeah.
So, or the Rancor. So it was just a woman painted green. So this whole thing of like, oh, it just looks like a person with some makeup on. Yeah, that was the alien design from the start.
Yeah.
So as soon as you just have green paint on or like throw on blue paint on, you're just going to look like a cosplayer. You're not going to look alien.
Yeah. And dude, you know what? Honestly, and to your point, I feel bad for the makeup people because those leku, you said they're called, the tail things in the back of their heads, those things are impossible to make look like their actual flesh. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they didn't get it right in Return of the Jedi. I mean, although that one, honestly, that one might be the closest one we've had. But, when you see them in cosplay, I mean, you're seeing it right now. It's like, the ones that we've seen, Ahsoka's and stuff, they look like cosplay. But I don't think there's any way to avoid that. I mean, it's got to be a bitch to make it look like actual flesh. So, I don't know. I mean, I think you got to suspend some disbelief because it's cool to see these characters in live action. And, this is what you get when, a large segment of the fan base bitches anytime there's CG of any kind.
Yeah, there's definitely got to be some suspension of disbelief because, Ahsoka's look herself has changed a lot. And they even said, like, the cartoon design just was not feasible in live action. Like, especially by the time she got to Rebels, like her head tails were down to her waist. And there was no way they could make a prosthetic that any actress could possibly perform in with head tails that long. So they just shortened them up. They're like, look, we had to change it.
Yeah.
Sorry. There's just some stuff that you can't pull off in live action unless you're going to have like a fully CG headdress going on. And there's no budget like that in the TV version. So
no. Well, before we get to our, kind of show wrap up here, why don't we go over our show announcement again? So this is our last show kind of being independent, I would say, but nothing about the content of the show is going to change. Just the time of the show. We are going to be starting our next, going forward, instead of starting at 8:00 p.m. or 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we are going to be starting at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Our next episode will be on Wednesday, August 30th. Again, at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that is our first episode as a member of the Virtual Cantina Network. So, again, nothing content-wise is changing. I love how I'm trying to do this damn announcement, and then my internet freezes. Fucking bastard. But, yeah, so our first episode as members of the Virtual Cantina Network will be on Wednesday, August 30th. And again, the show will now be starting at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so 15 minutes earlier than we have been for basically the entire history of the show. Mm-hmm. So don't forget to tune in for that. All right, so final predictions. I mean, we've gone over a lot of different stuff. I have a very, very simple question. Because you and I are not fans of Rebels, do you think that we are going to enjoy this as much as we have enjoyed the other live action Star Wars programs?
I'm going to say yes on average. And I say on average because I'm a huge fan of The Mandalorian, and the Book of Boba Fett has some real issues. So I feel like this is going to slot in at number 2. And you, I know, are a much bigger fan of the Book of Boba Fett. So
correct.
I feel like if it falls somewhere Rebels adjacent, I'll like it more than you will, and therefore it'll average out.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'll enjoy this, mostly because I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt because I've liked all the other stuff that they've done. And my problem with Rebels wasn't the characters necessarily. I didn't have a real problem with the characters. It was just the storyline at times, and having half of the episodes be complete throwaway bullshit. And in a short, what is this? Is this another 8-season thing or 8-episode thing. Excuse me.
I think this is 10.
Okay. Well, it's 8, 10, whatever it is. They have to kind of get to the point. You would hope. So because I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, they've got a lot of credibility built up with me because of the quality of the other stuff they've done, and I don't dislike the Rebels characters. I think I'm gonna like it. So, admittedly, I hate to say this because it's become a show joke, but it really is true how much I absolutely hate these effing things. But like they that shall not be named, if that becomes a big part of this too, I'm gonna be pissed. I really am gonna be pissed. This it better not be some big deal, because otherwise it's just gonna completely ruin it for me, because I hate that goddamn idea. So if that is again, oh well, here's how we're gonna save everybody, or this is how somebody wins something because of those things, I'll be like, you gotta be kidding me already.
Well, one thing we know for a fact is that Dave Filoni is not shy about adding canon-altering elements to the lore. We got the World Between Worlds. We got purrgils, for better or worse. We got Loth Wolves. We got the Inquisitors. All these things in Rebels. So now we've got these people with orange lightsabers already shown. So do you think that there's going to be something in this show that recontextualizes the rest of the Star Wars saga for you?
Recontextualizes it?
Mm-hmm.
I would say fleshes it out. I don't think, because see, here's the thing, dude. For me, like, it doesn't need to be recontextualized. I don't need to look at it differently. I enjoy it. I'm cool with where it's going and stuff like that. So, I mean, could it? Sure, but to me, I think it'll just be fleshing it out a little bit more. I don't know about recontextualizing it. I mean, it's. I don't think that the universe as a whole. I mean, it could recontextualize like the Force, maybe there'll be some interesting new wrinkles there. But overall, no, I wouldn't think so.
Okay.
So
yeah, for my part, I think we'll get. I really think we're going to get some sort of major piece of the timeline that connects the post Return of the Jedi era to the formation of the First Order.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of that's kind of what I'm wondering too. Is, are we going to see something obviously that ties in with something else? Or is this going to kind of be like a standalone thing and you got to wait for season 2 or something? I mean, is this going to be a recurring show like Mando? Or is this supposed to be, are they going to, hopefully this one is good and then they'll kind of make up their minds. I don't know if they've already got a season 2. I haven't read anything about a season 2. Whereas, with Mando, we kind of knew it was like, yeah, there's a season 2. I mean, after the first episode or 2 was like just such a huge smash success, they were like, yeah, we're doing a second season. So I wonder if it'll be like that again.
Yeah, I think that'll come down to a behind the scenes decision. We've got the writers and the actors strike going on. It's throwing off the timeline for production on everything.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
So if they've got like a locked in date that they're planning on doing this movie event and all the TV is backed up, then they're probably going to have to just forego whatever, future season they had planned if it doesn't line up with their launch date for the movie. Or maybe they push back the movie. Who knows? Yeah, I think a lot of that's up in the air right now.
Yeah. Kale, I do hope that the Hafu leader is properly dealt with since the actor has passed.
That's a good point right there, too. Yeah, sadly, Ray Stevenson no longer with us. So we get a season of Baylan Skoll, and then we've got a Carrie Fisher situation where the actor is not available for whatever comes next.
Maybe they'll.
And it wasn't written that way to begin with, unless his death is actually part of the season.
Maybe they'll just do a reverse Rise of Skywalker. Somehow Baylan Skoll disappeared. They're sitting in the writer's room like,
horrible,
shit, it worked before. I mean, let's just do that. I mean, why not? And lastly, I got to bring this up with Kale. Like, so, Kale says, if my internet will agree. He says, I actually want to see purrgil kids. And I said, you shut up, Kale. He said, but I don't understand the species enough, and I want to see what they're like as children. Maybe I won't want to have a lightsaber chainsaw to the thing's bladder. I can tell you for a fact, Kale, this is not a prediction. This is a guarantee. That won't happen because they that shall not be named suck so bad there is nothing they can ever possibly do to make those things palatable. So just that's a fact. And as someone who put the orange lightsaber into canon back in 2010, you can take that to the bank. I know stuff. So, all right, man. Well, on that note, why don't we close up shop for this show? Another good episode, and it's man, it's weird to think we're going on a network, and
we're taking our first steps into a larger world.
Yeah, it only took us like over 8 years.
Yeah, sure, why not?
But in our defense, we were always like, nah, we never sought it out. So it wasn't like we were trying, and we finally got over the threshold. It was just like, nah, no one's going to want us, and we don't want to mess with our content, so we'll just keep doing it on our own. And then they're like, yeah, you want to be on our network? Sure. If we don't have to change a thing, you don't have to change a thing. Okay, we'll join your network. That's pretty much how it went. So we do have some tech stuff to figure out, they said, so have to make sure we do that here in the next week or so. And again, AJ,
we're the Anakin Skywalkers of podcasting here, man. We're easily angered, and we're never going to be a master.
That is exactly the best way to describe us, man. So obviously,
we don't choke our wives, though. That's
true. That is true.
Oh, he was Darth by that point, so it doesn't count. That doesn't count.
That doesn't count. So yeah, next Tuesday, either AJ or me or both of us will be appearing on a Rebels. Look at that, I'm already saying it. Ahsoka prediction show for the Virtual Cantina Network. It's kind of like our little introduction to their viewership. So if you guys want to check that out, all you got to do is just go to the Virtual Cantina Network on Facebook. They have over 60,000 followers. You can go to the Virtual Cantina Network. Man, I'm really killing this. The Virtual Cantina Network YouTube channel. They've got a bunch of subscribers over there, and all their programming appears there as well. So check those guys out. Give them a follow. Give them a subscription. Hit the like button and the notification bell and all that happy crappy stuff. So yeah, it's going to be cool, man. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be fun having some other shows to bounce ideas off of, and it just kind of broadens what we do, which, as much as we weren't looking for it, it's always fun because we do have a blast doing it, and it's always great to see all of you guys. So you guys getting more attention for your hilarious and or well thought out opinions. Kale McLeish, Tyler Burkhart, Joseph Wren, Discuss Metal Joe. Great to see you guys. Mimar when she's around. And yeah, you guys have been awesome. Again, our next show will be our first official show for the Virtual Cantina Network in 2 weeks on Wednesday, August 30th at our new start time of 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Once again, guys, we are brought to you by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/NHC for your 30-day trial and a free audiobook download. And you can get customizable Nerf Herder Council swag at shop.nerfherdercouncil.com. Don't forget to click that like button on YouTube. Don't forget to click that subscribe button on YouTube and smash the notification bell. And while you're at it, look up the Virtual Cantina Network on YouTube and Facebook and give them likes, subscribes, notification bells, and all that stuff. So until next time, I am your host, JT at Dog Pound Jedi. He is AJ
at Drake Adams 579.
And guys, for the last time as a solo show, we will catch you guys next time.
This bucket of bolts is never gonna get us past that blockade.
This bucket's got a few surprises left in her. Plus me and Chewie are on it. Ain't that right, Chewie?
Hell yeah, you my Nerf herder.
You my Nerf herder.